The emergency beacon had been silent for 3 weeks. That was the first thing Commander Tae-Young noticed when his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Velthara Prime. The mining colony hung in space, like a dead thing. Its lights still burning, but no signals coming from inside. No radio chatter, no status updates, nothing at all. Tae-Young stood on the bridge of his galactic peacekeeping vessel and stared at the readouts. His second officer, a tall alien with blue skin named Corthin, checked the sensors twice before speaking. Life support is running. Power levels are normal, but I'm not detecting any life signs. None at all? Tae-Young asked. He was human, one of the few serving in the galactic fleet. Most species considered humans too weak, too new to space travel to be useful. But Tae-Young had worked hard to earn his rank. Nothing. The station should have 42 humans working there. I'm reading 0. Tae-Young felt something cold settle in his stomach. 42 people didn't just disappear. He turned to his communications officer. Try hailing them again. The officer did. Static filled the bridge speakers. No response. We're going in, Tae-Young decided. Prepare a boarding team. An hour later, Tae-Young and his team stood in the airlock of the mining station. With him were Ji-Woo, the ship's medical officer and also human, Hyan-Woo, the security chief, who was a massive reptilian alien, and Dae-Yoon, a young human engineer who looked nervous. Stay alert, Hyan-Woo growled. His species was known for being aggressive and paranoid. Could be pirates. Could be a disease. The airlock opened. The corridor beyond was lit and clean. Everything looked normal. Too normal. They moved through the station carefully. The halls were empty. In the cafeteria, they found trays of food sitting on tables. The food was 3 weeks old now, covered in mold, but it had been left in the middle of meals. Cups of coffee sat half empty. A data pad lay on the floor, still displaying a message someone had been writing. It's like they all just vanished. Dae-Yoon whispered. Ji-Woo examined everything with her scanner. No blood. No signs of violence. No bodies. Maybe they evacuated? Tae-Young suggested, but he didn't believe it. There were no evacuation alerts, no emergency pods missing. They moved deeper into the station. In the sleeping quarters, beds were unmade. Personal items were scattered around. Pictures of families, books, clothing, all left behind. Nobody evacuated and left everything. Hyan-Woo's scales rippled with unease. This is wrong. Prey animals don't vanish like this. Even if something hunted them, there would be remains. They reached the command center. Here, finally, they found something. The computers were still running, but someone had smashed several screens. On the wall, written in what looked like black paint, were words in human English. They answered. God help us, they answered. Tae-Young felt his blood run cold. He stepped closer, examining the writing. Not paint, blood, human blood, but old and dried. What does it mean? Corthin asked over the radio from the ship. I don't know, Tae-Young admitted. Dae-Yoon was already working at one of the intact computer terminals. Her fingers flew over the controls. Commander, I think I can access the station logs. Give me a few minutes. While she worked, Tae-Young and the others searched the rest of the station. They found the mining equipment unused, the storage bays full of processed ore ready for shipment, the medical bay spotless and empty. Everything was in perfect order, except for one thing. The humans were gone. In the communications room, they found more strange things. The main transmitter had been modified. Someone had added extra components, wired in equipment that didn't belong there. It looked like amateur work, done in a hurry. They changed the transmitter, Ji-Woo said, examining it. But why? To send a message? Tae-yang guessed. The emergency beacon sent a standard distress call, Corthin reported from the ship. Nothing unusual. But Tae-yang wasn't so sure. He'd served with humans long enough to know they were resourceful. If they wanted to send a hidden message, they could do it. Da-Yoon's voice came over their radios, excited and scared at the same time. Commander, you need to see this. I've got the logs working. They gathered back in the command center. Da-Yoon had pulled up video recordings from 3 weeks ago. They watched the station commander, a middle-aged human named Young-Soo, addressing his crew. We found something, Young-Soo said in the recording. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. Deep scan picked up an anomaly 2 kilometers down. We're sending a team to investigate. The next recording showed the mining team bringing up a strange object. It was about the size of a person, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a faint blue light. It's old, one of the researchers said in the recording. Really old. Millions of years, maybe. They brought it to the research lab. Tae-yang and his team watched as the humans studied the artifact, ran tests, took measurements. Young-Soo ordered his people to be careful, but there was excitement in his voice. This was a significant find. Then, in one recording, everything changed. A young researcher touched the artifact, and it activated. The blue glow became bright, pulsing. The symbols rearranged themselves. And then sound filled the lab, a sound that made everyone watching the recording feel sick and afraid. Thought it was screaming. Not human screaming. Something else, something that hurt to hear. Turn it off. Young-Soo shouted in the recording, but they couldn't. The artifact kept broadcasting, the sound growing louder. The researchers tried everything, but nothing worked. Hours passed in the recordings. The crew looked more and more frightened. Finally, Young-Soo made a decision. It's a distress beacon, he said. Something old and powerful sent this into space millions of years ago, calling for help. We activated it. We can't turn it off. What do we do? Someone asked. Young-Soo looked at the camera. His face was grim. We answer. The recording ended. Tae-yang stood in silence. Answer? Answer what? Yoon pulled up more files. There's more. They modified the beacon. Look. She showed them technical data. The humans had added their own signal to the ancient broadcast. They'd sent a message, a nod to the Galactic Council. The coordinates were for Earth. What did they say? Ji Woo asked .eun translated the code. Her hands were shaking. Pattern Omega-7. Deployment authorized. Come armed. Before anyone could respond, alarms screamed through the station. Corfin's panicked voice came over the radio. Commander, something just arrived in orbit. Something big. Tae-yang ran to a window and looked up at the planet's sky. There, against the stars, a massive ship was taking shape. But it wasn't alien. It was human. And it looked like it was built for war. The ship in orbit was enormous. Tae-yang had served in the Galactic Fleet for 15 years and had never seen anything like it. Human vessels were supposed to be small, practical, designed for exploration and mining. This thing was a monster, covered in armor plating and bristling with weapons. Get us back to the ship, Tae-yang ordered. Now. The team rushed through the station corridors. Behind them, the artifact in the research lab was still pulsing with that terrible blue light. The screaming sound followed them, making their teeth hurt and their minds feel fuzzy. They reached their shuttle and launched immediately. As they flew back to their peacekeeping vessel, Tae-yang couldn't stop staring at the human warship. It hung above them like a predator, dark and silent. They're hailing us, Corthin reported when they reached the bridge. Put them through, Tae-yang said. The main screen flickered. A human woman appeared, wearing a black uniform Taeyang had never seen before. Her face was hard, her eyes cold. Behind her, the bridge of her ship was dark and efficient, with crew members working at stations surrounded by tactical displays. "This is Captain Min Ji of the UHSN Retribution," the woman said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "You are ordered to evacuate this system immediately. You have 30 minutes. Taeyang stepped forward. "Captain, I am Commander Taeyang of the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. We are investigating a distress call from the colony below. We have authority here." Minji's expression didn't change. "Your authority is irrelevant. This system is now under human military control. Evacuate or be evacuated. What's happening here?" Taeyang demanded. "Where are the colonists? What is that artifact?" For a long moment, Minji just stared at him. Then she spoke quietly to someone off-screen. When she looked back, her eyes were slightly softer, but only slightly. "You're human," she said to Taeyang. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "Then you deserve to understand. You may send a small delegation to my ship. 4 people maximum. You have 10 minutes to dock. Come alone and unarmed." The screen went dark. Haiyan Wu's scales were standing up in alarm. "It's a trap. They're going to kill you." "Maybe," Taeyang admitted. "But we need answers. If humans are involved in whatever happened here, I need to know why." He selected his team, himself, Ji Wu, Dayun, and Haiyan Wu, despite the security chief's protests. They took a small shuttle across to the Retribution. As they approached, Taeyang could see more details of the warship. Every surface was reinforced. Weapon quartz covered the hull. This wasn't a ship designed to explore or trade. This was a ship designed to kill. The docking process was controlled by the Retribution's computers. Their shuttle was pulled into a bay and locked down immediately. When the airlock opened, they found themselves facing a line of human soldiers in full combat armor. "Weapons ready. Follow me," one soldier said. His voice was distorted by his helmet, mechanical and cold. They were led through corridors that were nothing like human civilian vessels. Everything was gray metal and harsh lights. Blast doors stood at every intersection, ready to seal off sections. Automated gun turrets tracked their movement from the ceiling. This was a ship ready for war at any moment, Ji Wu whispered to Taeyang. "I've never seen anything like this. Where did they get this technology?" "I don't know," Taeyang admitted quietly. They were brought to a briefing room. Captain Minji was waiting, along with a tall male human wearing a tactical officer's uniform. Minji gestured for them to sit. "I am Minji. This is Lieutenant J1, my tactical officer. You want answers. I'll give them to you, because you deserve to know what your people are walking into." She activated a holographic display in the center of the table. An image appeared, showing Earth. But it wasn't the peaceful blue world Taeyang remembered from his childhood. This Earth was surrounded by massive weapons platforms, defense stations, and hundreds of warships. "This is Earth as it really is," Minji said. "Not the innocent homeworld the Galactic Council knows about. This is a fortress. Every human in the galaxy knows this truth, except apparently those serving in alien fleets." Taeyang felt cold. "That's impossible. The Council monitors all military development. We would know, would you?" J1 asked. "Your sensors look for certain energy signatures, certain materials. We've been building our fleet for 200 years, using methods that don't trigger your alerts." Min Ji continued. "When humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, we weren't alone in our solar system. Something was already there, something that had been waiting for us to become advanced enough to notice. We made first contact not with peaceful aliens, but with an entity that tried to destroy us." She changed the hologram. Now it showed battles, human ships fighting against things that hurt to look at, vessels that seemed to shift and change shape, that appeared and disappeared. We call it the Devourer, Ming-Ji said. It's not a species. It's not biological. It's something else, something that exists partly in our dimension and partly in others. It feeds on conscious thought, on sentient minds. When it finds a species, it consumes them completely. Haiyan Wu leaned forward. If this is true, why didn't you warn the galaxy? Because the entity learns, J1 explained. Every species it consumes makes it smarter, stronger. If we'd told the Council, if we'd shared what we knew, the information would have spread across thousands of worlds. The Devourer would have learned about all of them. It would have known where to find new prey. Ming-Ji pulled up more images. We fought it in secret for decades. Millions of humans died. Entire colonies were lost. Eventually, we learned how to contain it, how to trap it in dimensional prisons. The last containment was established 173 years ago. We thought it was over. But the artifact, Dayun said quietly. The one on the station below. Yes, Ming-Ji nodded. That artifact is a beacon, sent into space by a species that died out millions of years ago. They were being hunted by the Devourer. In desperation, they built prisons across the galaxy, trapping themselves and the entity together. The beacon was their warning to others. Stay away. Young Su activated it, Taeyang said. He did. And in doing so, he weakened the prison. The Devourer knows this system exists now. It's coming. Ming-Ji's face was grim. But Commander Young Su was smart. He added a second message to the beacon before he and his crew were taken. He called us. He told us what was happening and authorized Pattern Omega-7, which is? Haiyan Wu asked. Total system sterilization, J1 said flatly. We destroy everything. The planet, the station, this entire region of space. We burn it all to ashes to make sure the Devourer can't spread. Taeyang stood up so fast his chair fell over. You can't. There are procedures laws. The Galactic Council must be notified. The Council is 47 light-years away, Ming-Ji said. By the time they respond, the Devourer will have consumed everything in this sector. We don't have time for debates. What about the colonists? Ji Wu asked. Can they be saved? Min-Ji and J1 exchanged glances. Finally, Min-Ji spoke. The colonists are gone. The Devourer took them 3 weeks ago, within hours of the beacon activating. What you saw on that station was a tomb. Young Su knew this would happen. He and his people sacrificed themselves to buy us time. Alarms suddenly blared through the ship. A voice over the speakers reported, Contact. Multiple vessels emerging from dimensional rifts. Configuration matches Devourer signatures. Min-Ji stood. It's here. Lieutenant, prepare all weapon systems. Target anything that isn't us, or the peacekeeping vessel. She looked at Taeyang. Commander, you need to evacuate your ship now. Get your people to minimum safe distance. We can help, Taeyang said. No, Min-Ji said firmly. You can't. Your ship has no defenses against what's coming. Leave now while you still can. Through the viewports, they could see space itself beginning to tear. Reality was ripping open, and through the holes came ships. They looked like vessels from dozens of different species, but something was wrong with them. They moved in ways that made no sense, their hulls seeming to fold in on themselves. Those are coalition ships, Haiyan Wu whispered in horror. Terran Federation vessels. Council peacekeepers. Those are our people. Were, J1 corrected coldly. Those crews are dead. The Devourer is wearing their ships like puppets. If you try to rescue them, it will take you too. The Retribution's weapons came online, and the war began. The first wave of possessed ships came at them in perfect formation. 36 vessels from species across the galaxy, all moving with unnatural precision. They broadcast distress signals, voices calling for help in 100 different languages. Rescue teams, this is Captain Kelvar of the Coalition Starship Unity. We are under attack. Multiple casualties. Requesting immediate assistance. Tae Young knew that voice. He'd served with Kelvar 5 years ago. The captain was a good officer, careful and kind. Hearing his voice now made Tae Young want to respond. To help, Minji's hand slammed down on the communications panel, cutting off the signal. Don't listen. He's been dead for 6 months. The Devourer took his ship at the edge of the Nibari sector. It's been studying his memories, learning how he spoke, how he thought. We have to be sure, Tae Young started to say. We are sure, J1 interrupted. He pulled up tactical data. Look at their engine signatures. No heat variation, no power fluctuations. Real ships aren't perfect. These move like puppets on strings, because that's exactly what they are. The Retribution opened fire. The weapons weren't like anything in the Galactic Fleet. Instead of plasma bolts or missile swarms, beams of pure white energy lanced out, hitting the approaching vessels. When the beams touched the ships, they didn't explode. They simply stopped existing, erased from reality completely. Causality disruptors, Minji explained, seeing Tae Young's shocked expression. We can't just destroy the Devourer's vessels. We have to remove them from existence entirely, or it will rebuild them from the wreckage. More ships emerged from the dimensional tiers. Hundreds now, thousands. They filled space around the Retribution, surrounding it. But Minji's crew didn't panic. They worked with cold efficiency, each officer knowing exactly what to do. This wasn't their first battle against the Devourer. Pattern Epsilon 9, Minji ordered. J1, you have tactical command. Understood, J1 replied. His fingers moved across his controls. All batteries, synchronized fire. Remove the outer shell, then collapse the formation inward. The Retribution's weapons fired in a perfect rhythm. One by one, the possessed ships vanished. But for every vessel destroyed, 2 more emerged from the rifts. The Devourer was testing them, learning their patterns. An alarm sounded on Tae Young's communicator. It was Corthin from his ship. Commander, our systems are malfunctioning. The navigation computer is displaying coordinates we never entered. The AI is speaking in voices I don't recognize. Tae Young felt ice in his veins. It's spreading to your ship. The Devourer is trying to take control. Minji heard this over her command channel. She made a decision instantly. Bring their ship alongside us. Emergency docking procedures. We evacuate their crew, then we scuttle both vessels if necessary. Both vessels? Ji Woo asked. You'd destroy your own ship? The Devourer cannot be allowed to learn what this ship knows, Minji said. Every Retribution-class warship has a self-destruct system, powerful enough to vaporize everything within 10,000 kilometers. If the entity gets aboard, we trigger it. Hyen Woo's scales had gone pale. You're serious. You would kill everyone aboard rather than let it spread. Yes, Minji said simply. Thousands of lives here or billions of lives elsewhere. It's not a difficult choice. The peacekeeping vessel was brought close to the Retribution using tractor beams. The docking process was rushed and violent. Crew members from Tae Young's ship poured into the warship, many of them injured from malfunctioning systems. Some of them screaming about voices in their heads. Da-Yoon was working at an engineering station, trying to help coordinate the evacuation. Suddenly she stopped, staring at her screen. Commander, I'm seeing something. The artifact on the planet below, it's not just a beacon. There's more data here. Encrypted files that Young Soo left behind. Can you access them? Taeyang asked. I'm trying. Her fingers flew over the controls. He left a message hidden in the station computers. It's addressed to anyone who comes to investigate. She pulled up a video file. Young-Soo's face appeared, looking tired and frightened. Behind him, the research lab was visible with the artifact pulsing its terrible blue light. If you're seeing this, then you know what happened here, Young-Soo said in the recording. The artifact activated, and the Devourer came for us. We're already dead. I can feel it in my mind, picking through my memories, learning everything I know. In a few hours, there won't be anything left of us but puppets. He looked directly at the camera. But before I lose myself completely, I need to explain something. This artifact isn't what we thought. My team analyzed it, and we found something. It's not just a distress beacon. It's a prison door. Young-Soo pulled up technical diagrams. Millions of years ago, a species more advanced than anything in our galaxy faced the same threat we do now. They couldn't destroy the Devourer, so they did something else. They built dimensional cages, prisons that exist outside normal space and time. Then they locked themselves inside with the entity, sacrificing their entire civilization to trap it. This artifact is the key to one of those prisons. When we activated it, we didn't just send out a signal. We unlocked the cage. The Devourer has been contained for millions of years, but now it's free. Taeyang felt sick. We have to warn everyone. The entire galaxy needs to know. But Young-Soo wasn't finished. The artifact contains something else, though. A failsafe. The ancient builders left instructions, coded into the device itself. There's a way to reset the cage, to lock the Devourer away again. But it requires a living consciousness to act as the anchor, someone who volunteers to be trapped inside with it. The builders sacrificed their entire species because they had no choice. But we do. One person or a small group can take their place. The entity can be contained again. The recording ended. Everyone in the command center was silent. He's telling us how to stop this, Ji-Woo said quietly. But someone has to take his place in the prison. Min-Ji looked at the tactical display. The Devourer's forces were still coming, wave after wave. The retribution was holding them back, but barely. We're running calculations on how to implement Young-Soo's solution. But we need time, and we need to get close to the artifact. Your ship will never survive that approach, Jae-won said. The Devourer knows what we're planning now. It's been listening to us through the infected systems. It will throw everything it has at us to prevent the artifact from being reactivated. Taeyang looked at his crew, at the frightened aliens who had trusted him to keep them safe. He looked at Dae-Yoon, so young and brilliant, at Ji-Woo, who had saved countless lives with her medical skills, at Hyun-Woo, fierce and loyal despite his aggressive nature. Then he looked at Min-Ji and her crew, these humans he'd never known existed, who had been fighting this war in secret for generations. They looked tired, worn down by endless battles against an enemy that never stopped. How many ships do you have? Taeyang asked. In this sector, 7, Min-Ji said. Total, across all of human space? 214 Retribution-class vessels, plus support craft. We've been building them for 2 centuries, preparing for the day the Devourer returned. 200 ships to guard the entire galaxy. Taeyang said. That's not enough. No, Min-Ji agreed. It's not. That's why we've kept humanity's true strength hidden. If the galaxy knew we had this military power, they'd demand we share it, use it for their conflicts. We can't afford that. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier exists for one purpose only, to hold back the Devourer. An explosion rocked the Retribution. One of the Devourer's vessels had broken through their defensive fire and struck the hull. Alarms blared. Damage reports flooded in. Hull breach on Deck 7, an officer reported. Sealing bulkheads. Enemy contacts increasing, another officer called out. Dimensional rifts opening inside our defensive perimeter. Minji's expression never changed. She calmly issued orders, redirected fire, managed her crew with perfect control. But Taeyang could see the truth in her eyes. They were losing. The Devourer was learning too fast. Every tactic the Retribution used, the entity adapted to. Every weapon they fired, it found countermeasures for. This was a war of attrition, and the Devourer had infinite patience and endless resources pulled from across dimensions. "We need a new plan," Taeyang said. The battle had been going on for 3 hours. The Retribution's hull was scarred and burning in places, but still intact. 6 more human warships had arrived, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. But even with 7 ships, they were being overwhelmed. Taeyang watched the tactical display in horror. The Devourer wasn't just sending possessed ships anymore. Reality itself was breaking down around them. Space twisted and folded. Stars in the distance flickered and changed colors. Time seemed to move differently in pockets, making some areas blur with speed while others moved in slow motion. "It's pulling itself into our dimension," J1 explained. His voice was tense now, the first sign of stress Taeyang had seen from the tactical officer. "The more it manifests here, the stronger it becomes. We're running out of time." Ji Woo was working at a medical station, treating wounded crew members from both ships. She looked up at Taeyang with frightened eyes. "Commander, I'm seeing something in the injured. Those who are exposed to the malfunctioning systems, they're changing." "Changing how?" Taeyang asked. "Their brain patterns are shifting. Neural pathways are forming that shouldn't exist. It's like something is rewriting how their minds work." She pulled up medical scans. "If this continues, they won't be themselves anymore. The Devourer will have turned them into something else." One of the injured crew members suddenly sat up. It was Korthin, Taeyang's second officer. His eyes were wrong, unfocused, and empty. When he spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless. "Commander Taeyang, you should surrender. This fight is pointless. The Devourer has already won." Ji Woo tried to sedate him, but Korthin moved faster than should be possible. He grabbed her wrist, and his grip was impossibly strong. "It knows everything now. All of your secrets. All of your plans. It knows about Earth's defenses, about the hidden fleet, about the dimensional prisons. You cannot hide from it." Hyen Wu moved to intervene, but 3 more crew members stood up. They had the same empty eyes, the same flat voices. They spoke in unison. "The humans have fought well. They have delayed the inevitable, but delay is all they can do. The Devourer is eternal. It has consumed 1,000 species before yours. It will consume 1,000 more after." Minji drew a weapon Taeyang had never seen before. It looked like a pistol, but wrong somehow, as if it existed slightly out of phase with reality. She fired once. The beam hit Korthin, and he collapsed, unconscious but unharmed. "Stasis rounds," she explained. "They freeze the target's consciousness temporarily. It's the only way to save them once the Devourer starts the conversion process." She fired 3 more times, dropping the other possessed crew members. "Get them to the medical bay. We have neural scrubbers that might be able to reverse the changes, but we need to act fast." Dayun had been working frantically at an engineering station, analyzing the data Young Su had left behind. Suddenly, she gasped. "I found something. The artifact. It's not just a key to the prison. It's a blueprint." "For what?" Taeyang asked. "For the cage itself. The ancient builders left complete specifications. If we can get close enough to the artifact and feed it the right energy patterns, we can reconstruct the dimensional prison." "But there's a problem." "Only one?" J1 muttered darkly. The prison needs an anchor, Dayun continued. A living consciousness that volunteers to be locked inside with the devourer. But not just any consciousness. It needs someone with detailed knowledge of the entity, someone who understands how it thinks and operates. Otherwise, the prison will fail. Minji and J1 exchanged glances. They both understood immediately what this meant. You've been fighting it for 200 years, Taeyang said quietly. Your people know it better than anyone. Yes, Minji said. One of us has to be the anchor. And it can't be just one person. The devourer is too strong now, more powerful than when the ancient builders trapped it. We'll need multiple anchors. A crew. How many? Ji Woo asked. 300, Minji said. Maybe more. Enough minds working together to hold the cage stable for the next few centuries, until it weakens again. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. 300 people, locked in a dimensional prison with an entity that fed on conscious thought. It would be a nightmare that lasted for centuries, fighting to keep the cage closed while the devourer tried endlessly to escape. An explosion rocked the ship again. This one was much worse. The Retribution's artificial gravity failed for several seconds before backups kicked in. Alarms screamed everywhere. Direct hit to main engineering, an officer reported. We've lost primary weapons. Hull integrity at 40%. Through the viewports, Taeyang could see one of the other human warships explode. It had been overwhelmed by dozens of possessed vessels, all attacking at once. The ship's self-destruct activated, creating a white flash that erased everything within 10,000 kilometers. 4 warships lost now. Only 3 remained, including the Retribution. We're losing, Hyun Woo said what everyone was thinking. Then we changed the game, Minji said. She turned to her communications officer. Open a channel to all human vessels. Authorization Min-G-7-7-Delta. Channel open, Captain. Minji took a deep breath. When she spoke, her voice was broadcast to every human ship in the system. All vessels, this is Captain Minji. Pattern Omega-7 is updated. New objective. Get the Retribution to the planet's surface. We're going to activate the artifact and rebuild the cage. I need volunteers for anchor duty. 300 personnel who understand what this means and choose it anyway. There was silence for a moment. Then responses started coming in. This is the defiance. We volunteer. All crew. 340 personnel. This is the last stand. We volunteer. 290 personnel. This is the Crimson Shield. We volunteer. The responses kept coming. Every ship offered their entire crew. Thousands of humans, ready to sacrifice themselves to save a galaxy that didn't even know they existed. Minji's eyes glistened, but her voice remained steady. Negative. We need those ships to escort the Retribution and hold the line. Only personnel from the Retribution will serve as anchors. Everyone else fights to make sure we reach the surface. She turned to her crew. I won't order anyone to volunteer. This decision must be freely made. If you want to transfer to another ship, you have 60 seconds to leave. Nobody moved. Not a single person left their station. J1 spoke up. Captain, we've served together for 8 years. Where you go, we go. Around the bridge, other officers nodded. One by one, they confirmed their choice to stay. 317 crew members on the Retribution, and not one of them chose to leave. Taeyang felt something break inside him. These humans, these warriors he'd never known existed, were choosing to face an eternity of horror to protect others. He looked at his own crew, the aliens from his peacekeeping vessel, and saw the same realization in their eyes. We'll help you reach the surface, Taeyang said. My crew and I will do whatever we can. You should evacuate, Minji said. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is, Taeyang replied. It always has been. We just didn't know it. The remaining human warships moved into formation around the Retribution. They began pushing toward the planet, fighting through waves of possessed vessels. The Devourer threw everything at them, understanding now what they planned to do. Space itself screamed. The dimensional rifts grew larger. Through them came things that hurt to look at, beings of pure energy and twisted matter that didn't follow any natural laws. But the human ships kept firing, kept fighting, kept moving forward. The Retribution's secondary weapons came online. J1 directed fire with brutal efficiency. Dayun rerouted power from life support to shields. Ji-Woo sedated more crew members, who showed signs of possession. Everyone worked together, human and alien alike, fighting for a few more minutes, a few more meters. They reached the planet's atmosphere. The Retribution wasn't designed for atmospheric entry, but Minji drove it down anyway. The hull glowed red with heat. Metal screamed. But they kept descending, toward the mining station and the artifact waiting below. The last stand exploded above them, sacrificing itself to destroy a cluster of enemy vessels that had gotten too close. The Crimson Shield followed minutes later, ramming itself into a massive Devourer construct that was trying to pull the Retribution back into space. Only one escort ship remained now, plus the Retribution itself. Surface in 90 seconds, J1 reported. Enemy contacts still pursuing. Dayun, are you ready? Minji asked. The young engineer nodded. She'd programmed the necessary energy patterns into the ship's systems. When they reached the artifact, she could trigger the sequence that would rebuild the dimensional cage. Taeyang watched them all, these humans who had become heroes without anyone knowing their names. And he made a decision. The Retribution crashed into the planet's surface half a kilometer from the mining station. The impact shook the entire facility. Dust and debris filled the air, but the ship's hull held together, barely. Emergency lighting flickered on throughout the vessel. Minji was already moving. All anchor volunteers report to the artifact chamber. Everyone else, prepare for final defense. They'll try to stop us. Taeyang and his remaining crew followed Minji through the damaged corridors. They could hear the Devourer's forces landing outside, possessed ships crashing into the ground around them. Time was running out. They reached the mining station and rushed to the research lab. The artifact was still there, still pulsing with that terrible blue light. Up close, it was even more disturbing. The symbols on its surface seemed to move when nobody was looking directly at them. Dayun connected the Retribution's power systems to the artifact. This is going to drain everything we have. Once I start, there's no stopping. The ship will be completely defenseless. Do it, Minji ordered. Outside, the battle intensified. The last human escort ship was making its final stand, drawing as many enemy vessels away as possible. Explosions lit up the sky. The ground shook with impacts. Minji turned to her crew. 317 humans stood ready, knowing what was about to happen to them. I wish I could tell you this will be painless. I wish I could promise you'll be remembered. But the truth is, what we're about to do must remain secret. The galaxy can never know about the cage, or they'll try to open it again. We'll be forgotten, lost to history. J1 stepped forward. We knew what we signed up for when we joined the fleet. Humanity doesn't fight for glory. We fight because someone has to. The other crew members murmured agreement. They'd all made their peace with this. Dayun activated the sequence. The artifact's light grew impossibly bright. Energy patterns flowed from the Retribution's reactors into the ancient device. The air itself began to shimmer and distort. Taeyang felt reality bending around them. The artifact wasn't just rebuilding the dimensional cage. It was creating a doorway, a path into the prison itself. Through the growing rift, he could see something that made his mind hurt. Endless darkness filled with hungry light, spaces that folded in on themselves, geometries that couldn't exist in normal reality. And he could feel the Devourer's presence, vast and terrible and aware. It knew what they were doing. It was fighting back. The possessed crew members in the medical bay suddenly woke up, all at once. The stasis rounds had worn off. They stood and began walking toward the research lab, moving with unnatural coordination. Haiyan Wu and several human soldiers tried to stop them, but more kept coming. The Devourer was using every infected person as a weapon, trying to disrupt the process. "We can't hold them," Haiyan Wu roared, fighting hand-to-hand with creatures that had once been his crewmates. "There's too many." Ji Wu was at a medical console, trying desperately to find a way to help. She pulled up neural scans of the possessed crew. The Devourer's control is spreading through their consciousness like a virus. If I could interrupt the neural pathways, maybe I could slow it down. She worked frantically, developing a treatment on the fly. It was crude and dangerous, but it might work. She began broadcasting a specific frequency through the station's medical systems, targeting the parts of the brain the Devourer had infected. Some of the possessed crew members stumbled. A few collapsed. It was working, but not fast enough. The dimensional rift was almost complete now. The doorway to the prison stood open. Minji and her crew began walking toward it. One by one, they stepped through, disappearing into that impossible space beyond reality. Taeyang watched them go. Each person faced their fate with quiet courage. No hesitation. No regret. They knew what had to be done. Minji was one of the last to enter. She stopped at the threshold and looked back at Taeyang. "Commander, when you report to the Galactic Council, tell them the truth. Tell them about the Devourer, about the cages, about everything. They need to know what's out there." "They won't believe me," Taeyang said. "They will when you show them the evidence." "Dayun, give him the data files." Dayun handed Taeyang a small storage device. "Everything is here. 200 years of human history fighting the Devourer. Battle reports, scientific studies, locations of other cages. Young Su's research. All of it. Why give this to me?" Taeyang asked. "Why not keep it secret like you planned?" "Because we're tired," Ninji admitted. Her controlled facade cracked slightly, showing the exhaustion beneath. "We've been fighting alone for so long. Maybe it's time the rest of the galaxy understood what humanity has been doing. Maybe it's time they joined the fight." She straightened her uniform one last time. "It's been an honor, Commander." Then she walked through the rift and was gone. The remaining crew members followed. 298, 299, 300, each one choosing their fate, each one walking willingly into a nightmare that would last centuries. The last to go was J1. He looked at Dayun and gave her a small smile. "Keep them safe," he said. Then he stepped through. Dayun immediately began closing the rift. The artifact's light shifted from blue to red. The doorway started shrinking. From beyond, Taeyang could hear screaming. Not screams of pain, but of effort, of struggle. The anchor crew was already fighting to keep the cage closed, their minds locked in eternal battle with the Devourer. The rift sealed completely. The artifact's light died. In its place was silence. Outside, the possessed ships stopped attacking. The Devourer's manifestations in normal space faded away. Without access to this dimension, without the prison door open, it couldn't maintain its presence here. The battle was over, but the war, Taeyang knew, would never truly end. As long as the dimensional cages existed, as long as the Devourer was trapped but not destroyed, humanity would need to stand guard. 3 weeks later, Taeyang stood before the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, all of them watching him with varying degrees of skepticism and concern. "You're saying humanity has been hiding a military fleet from us?" the council speaker demanded. "That's a violation of every treaty we have." "They were protecting us," Tae-Yang replied. "All of us?" "While we argued about trade routes and border disputes, humanity was fighting something that would have destroyed the entire galaxy." He presented the evidence. Battle footage showing human warships fighting impossible enemies. Scientific data about the dimensional prisons. Young Su's research. The testimony of his own crew members, aliens from a dozen species, who had witnessed everything. "This is unprecedented," a council member said. "If what you're saying is true, humanity has been deceiving us for 2 centuries. They were saving us for 2 centuries, Ji-Woo spoke up. She'd been allowed to testify as well. 317 humans just sacrificed themselves to save species they'd never met. They walked into a prison dimension, knowing they'd never be free again. And they did it without asking for anything in return. Hyen Woo added his voice. "I've spent my life believing humans were weak. I was wrong. They're the strongest species I've ever encountered. Not because of their weapons or their ships, but because of their willingness to bear burdens that would break anyone else." The council deliberated for hours. Finally, the speaker called for a vote. "The question before us is simple. Do we accept humanity as an equal member of the galactic community, despite their deception?" The vote began. One by one, representatives cast their decisions. Some voted against, citing the violations of treaty. Some abstained, uncertain what to believe, but most voted in favor. Not because they forgave the deception, but because they recognized what had been done to protect them. When the count finished, the speaker announced the result. By a majority vote, humanity is recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, this council acknowledges that humanity has been serving as guardians against threats we were unaware of. We offer our support and resources to continue this mission. Tae-Yang felt relief, but it was hollow. 317 people were still trapped in that dimensional prison, fighting a battle that would never end. Recognition from the council couldn't change that. After the session ended, Dae-Yoon found him in a quiet corridor. "Min-ji wanted this," she said. "She wanted the galaxy to understand. Maybe now they will. Will it be enough?" Tae-Yang asked. "It has to be. Because there are other cages out there, other prisons holding other threats. And humanity can't guard them all alone anymore." In the following months, the galaxy changed. The truth about the Devourer spread slowly, carefully managed to prevent panic. Other species began contributing to humanity's defense efforts. Scientists studied the dimensional cages. Engineers helped build new warships. Soldiers trained alongside human crews, learning how to fight enemies that existed beyond normal reality. Earth revealed its true defenses to the galaxy. The fortress world, the hidden fleets, the weapons developed in secret. It was shocking, frightening even. But most species came to understand why it had been necessary. Tae-Yang was promoted to admiral and given command of the First Joint Task Force, combining human warships with vessels from other species. Their mission was simple: patrol the locations of known dimensional cages, watch for any signs of weakening, and be ready to respond if the Devourer ever threatened to break free again. On his first patrol, he visited the Velthara Prime system. The planet was quarantined now, the mining station abandoned. The artifact sat dormant in its research lab, surrounded by monitoring equipment and warning beacons. But sometimes, late at night, Tae-Yang thought he could hear voices from beyond the dimensional barrier. 317 humans, still fighting, still holding the line. They would never be relieved. They would never come home. They would fight until their minds finally gave out, centuries from now, And then the cage would need new anchors. It was a terrible price. But it was the price humanity had chosen to pay so that others could live in peace. Standing on the bridge of his new flagship, looking out at the stars, Taeyang made a promise. He would make sure their sacrifice meant something. He would make sure the galaxy remembered, even if the names were forgotten, that humans had stood in the dark and refused to let it consume the light. The Galactic Council had voted to accept humanity as equals. But Taeyang knew the truth. Humanity wasn't equal to the other species. They were something more, something the galaxy desperately needed, even if they didn't always recognize it. They were guardians. They were protectors. They were the ones who answered when others cried out in fear, and they would keep answering, no matter the cost, because that's what humanity did. In the depths of space, another ancient beacon began to pulse. Another prison was weakening. Another threat was stirring, and humanity would be there, ready to fight, ready to sacrifice, ready to do what needed to be done, because someone had to stand between the galaxy and the monsters. And humanity had chosen that burden willingly.